Hi there, here again, Chameleon Insights. I guess it's not really too much of a surprise that there are many insights coming right now. We are just about to enter the Mercury Retrograde, and I don't claim to know too much about that. I've read bits and bobs. But what I do know is that if we don't pay attention to, more generically, the messages that we receive, we will be given reason to take heed. Reason that isn't within our control often. So I just wanted to kind of touch base with that a little bit because I had plans this weekend to be really super productive, and it's not been too bad, but boy, today just feeling really lethargic, not in an irritating way, not in an irritable way, but just in a need to recharge my batteries type of way. And with what I understand of Mercury retrograde, I can see that sometimes my approach, and I'm sure that many others are like this too, is to kind of push on through and just carry on regardless. But today I have actually paid attention, and I've slept and laced around a little bit. I do need to do some stuff, but I don't feel the sense of urgency. And anyway, I've learnt from experience that everything works out in the end. It always does, doesn't it? So sometimes we put this pressure on ourselves to achieve beyond ourselves, almost beyond our own energy levels and capacity at that time. And what is that really about? Who is that for? In the end, we're human beings, all of us, So for me, the Mercury retrograde so far is giving me that message of, when you're called to slow down, take the break, take the rest, recharge those batteries. I don't know if it's the kind of energetic pull, but either way, definitely feeling it. And definitely as we move towards the kind of late afternoon of this day, the 16th of February 2020, I can feel that I did the right thing to not push myself, beyond. And when I think about magnetic poles, and again, this isn't really me coming from any real body of knowledge other than Chameleon Insights. But if I think about magnetic poles, and I think about batteries, and I think about, what can happen if we don't recharge, and if we treat ourselves as if we are robots run on batteries as opposed to people, then, we're heading for a fall. So I guess the message today is to go with the flow as much as you possibly can, because there's a reason why that flow is taking you in that direction. It's not a coincidence. As I've said previously, and I say again, there are messages all around us, and those messages are there to serve us if we choose to tune into them. So that's kind of the main thing, really, that I wanted to say. And then I was thinking about, that mode that we can get into, and I know I certainly can, where we're kind of running around like we've got no sense, the mistakes that can happen. And I'm thinking about Mercury retrograde, and I'm thinking about, when we talk about the issues with technology and issues with communication and issues with everything, I'm thinking to myself, well, actually, when we're tired, when we're not allowing ourselves to rest, when we're running on empty, of course those things are more likely to happen. So again, it's so important that we try as far as we possibly can to go with the flow. This time is also Piscean time, so it's very watery. Pisces, one of the deepest signs of the zodiac. although I'm not Piscean, and I don't have Pisces in any of my kind of main areas in my astrological chart. I am a water sign, so I'm conscious of this, conscious of the impact of those kind of watery depths, and again, the resistance to delving where it needs to be delved, and actually that doesn't always need to be this kind of like, oh my gosh, I have to look at this stuff, I have to dig deep and look at it. It's not about that. It's about allowing yourself to rest and being able to kind of, again, receive the messages, because sometimes that's enough. If we're staying attuned, sometimes that's enough, because that's the depth that we need. Actually, I feel that the times when I'm pulled deep into something is because I'm resisting, I'm not listening. So it's almost like I'm dragged by my foot into the depths of where I need to look at. So maybe, the way is to float, the way is to, they talk about surrendering, the way is to surrender and allow that to happen. And allow that processing to take place at a conscious and an unconscious level. We're not one-dimensional by any means. We can resolve matters without it being part of our conscious awareness. And that's fine. It's not everything that we have to be able to document in a kind of conscious, three-dimensional way. Hallelujah. That's what I say to that. Because I don't think I'd get much else done if I were fully tuned into that all the time. Don't know about you. Something I was thinking about a couple of days ago in relation to people who are quite watery but are distracted by 3D, three density kind of matters, and how this may make them behave in ways that feels really in conflict with who they are. Getting caught up in the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, the oughts and the oughtn'ts of life, and being judgmental, I guess, as a result of that. It's not a criticism, I just think it kind of, I believe that there's many factions that are cousins to each other, and I think that when we get caught up in the shoulds and the oughtn'ts, or the shouldn'ts and the oughtn'ts, should I say, and the shoulds and the oughts, that then we are kind of also calling on the cousin of judgment. And actually, I think that when we're going with the flow, we're not making those judgments in the same way, because things will come, things will go, we let them pass. We can acknowledge them as they float on by, without actually feeling that we need to wrap ourselves around them or allow them to wrap around us. I think that's one of the things that we sometimes forget, is that they don't own us. The feelings, the situations, what other people do or don't do, does not govern us. They don't own us. They don't dictate us. We do that. We choose. So, for me, all of these things kind of correlate, really. They all go together. Going with the flow, listening to self, listening to messages, resting when you need to rest. Yeah, responding. Because at this time, Mercury retrograde, things will be coming up, and we will be feeling the pull one way or another. Interestingly, that I'm stumbling over my words much more than I usually would in this moment. Mercury governs communication, as far as I can gather. So, is that a coincidence, or is that part of it? I wonder how it would have been if I'd have tried to do a video without having rested at all. Would I have been speaking total gobbledygook? Anyway, if you think about that just for a moment, I've made a bit of a joke of it, but you know, once we've said something, we can't unsay it, can we? So if we're not guarding our tongue and our thoughts and our feelings, and we're just spewing out whatever it is that we're reacting to, then we may create situations, problems for ourselves that otherwise we wouldn't have. And, you know, we need to take responsibility for that. I think sometimes it's all good to say what needs to be said, and I am an advocate of that. But I am also an advocate of being conscious in our communication. It's not everything that we think that we have to spew out of ourselves. It's not everything that we think that is shared by other people either. I don't know. Somehow we feel that we're only serving ourselves if we share what needs to be said, or what we believe needs to be said. But sometimes we need to bide our time. We need to make sure that we're, again, rested in a clear space, so that actually what we say is a true reflection of where we're coming from, a true reflection of what our soul is wanting to say, as opposed to us just reacting to this kind of dense energy. And again, you know, I've mentioned before about letting our fears and anxieties dictate us. Okay, I think that's about it for now. I can feel my tiredness kicking in again. I can feel the connect between my brain and my words slowing down. So on that note, I'm going to hear that and sign off. I hope this has spoken into the lives of someone anyway. Take great care of yourself. Bye-bye.